Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Women in Business podcast. Our guest today is Tanya Doyscher. I am really excited to talk to her. So I'm going to give you a few facts about her first, and then we'll bring her on and get right to it. Tanya has been in business since 2004. She and her husband, Jay, purchased a home-based heat transfer business from someone local to them while she was going to school for graphic design. That morphed into purchasing a screen print system, and they added services from there. They remained part-time out of their garage until 2015 when they took a jump to a brick and mortar location. In 2017, they purchased another location about an hour from them, and from that purchase, gained an auto screen print press as well as in-house embroidery. Personally, Jay and Tanya have his and her kids. Joe is Jay's son. He's 27 years old, just got out of the Air Force full-time and is in the Air Guard. And thank you, Joe, for your service. And Blake is Tanya's and is 26 years old and is very artistic and a welder. And they also have 3 fur children, Trinity, Brewer, and Asia Grace. And if you follow Tanya on Facebook at all, I'm sure you've seen Asia Grace. And Tanya has been a member of BNI for a little over a year, and it has helped her overcome speaking in public and networking in general. Hence, she is able to be with us here today. So let's bring her on and say hello. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And let's say hi to a few people that are here. Hi, Shelby. I'm glad you couldn't wait to watch. Now you get to see us in person. And Erin's here. Whoops. Hi, Erin. Thank you for joining us. And Martha. Hi, Martha. And Cindy, who's probably watching us while she's doing embroidery. But thank you all for joining us. We're glad that you're here. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about, Tanya, is one of the things that I find most amazing about you, if I may say that. Your husband, Jay, who is a very funny and sweet man, I like him a lot. He went through a pretty dramatic health crisis and still is in the process of going through it. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell us what happened for those who don't know?
He went down to Fort Worth, Texas on January 1st. He drove down, drove straight through, got down there, got in his hotel. He had a few days to kind of mess around and get things ready. He was down there for the College Gridiron Classic where we were selling merchandise, or he was. Mm-hmm. He normally goes with someone. This year he decided he could handle it by himself. And on the first day, on January 4th, he wasn't feeling well. And he got really sweaty, kind of thought maybe he had the flu. So he told our friends that I'm just going to go back to the hotel and rest. You have the interns put the stuff away and we'll pick it up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Well, he got back to the hotel and proceeded to get sicker and pass out. And luckily he got to the hotel phone and was able to call. He had the presence of mind to know that his cell phone wasn't going to do him any good, but that if he got to the hotel phone, he would be able to get an ambulance, and he was in the middle of a massive heart attack.
Oh, wow.
So
that's scary.
Yeah, I had talked to him and he said he wasn't feeling good. And then my phone rang again and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I get, this is so-and-so from the Fort Worth ambulance. Ooh. And I'm like, I'm in Minnesota. He's in Texas, and I'm talking to a paramedic. And I literally kind of froze, just didn't know what to do. I'd opened the store that day and was in the middle of talking between the paramedic and the nurses, and then called a friend, tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do. And Courtney got me on the right track to get to the cities and was able to get on a plane to head down there.
Oh my goodness.
And luckily, Joe was able to hop on the same plane to go down with me. So yeah, that was an exciting start to the year.
I imagine. So the upshot of all this, from what I know, is he ended up being hospitalized several times, and now he is in the process of getting put on the heart transplant list.
Yes.
So a huge life-changing, life-shaking event.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the part of this that I really admire about you is that through all this, you've still kept the business going. You've started new initiatives. I know Inspire, Collaborate, and Encourage is one of your new initiatives. You've been putting up new websites. how? How are you? Is it, I mean, does the work help as a distraction from the other stuff, or is it necessity, or how are you keeping it all together?
I think the ICE site, the Inspire, Collaborate, and Encourage, that
Mm-hmm.
just was my way of being able to try to figure out a way to help others, because that is how I'm coping. If I can
Okay.
help someone else and realize that, yeah, we're going through some sucky stuff right now. But if I could put my energy into helping some other people too, that kind of takes my mind off of it.
Sure.
And there's always someone that's going through worse. And if I can show someone that you can still get through the sucky stuff and do it with a positive attitude, then maybe that will help someone else as well.
Totally makes sense.
Our business, that was a scary thing for me because Jay had always done the business side of it, and I
Mm-hmm.
had always done the production and the creative side, and those two never really intermingled.
So you had the added thing of learning everything.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. For an
Ooh.
example, when I was down there, we had a web store that had to be built for our hockey association, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to use Inksoft. So
Ooh.
I'm frantically remembering things from Aaron and Todd about
Mm-hmm.
Equid. So I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. It's a free site. I got part of it done, and finally I put out a call to help, and I'm like, Todd, I need help.
Please tell me how to do this.
And so Jay's in the ICU. I went down to the waiting
Oh my
room. Todd's
God.
like, I'll FaceTime you. And we got it up and going. And then Pilar Harrison looked it over for me to give me, her feedback, and it
Mm-hmm.
got done. So it was kind of just survival mode. And I started reaching out to whoever I could. The Women in Garment Decorating group became my sounding board because Jay couldn't see that. So he couldn't see my
I'm going to
fearful.
throw that up there right now
Yeah.
too, just so people can see it. And I'm glad to hear that because you're a huge part of that group, and we're so glad that you're with us there. I want to throw up a few more comments here. Erin says, yes, I can see you're amazing because she is. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Janice, hi there from Central California. Thanks for joining us, Janice. Julie Fredrickson, she's a superhero. I agree with that. That's why I wanted you to be here. And I really think one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, because I know I've said this before, this is also education for me. One of the things I have a really hard time with is asking people for help.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it kind of like, I know I'm drowning, I have no choice, or how did you have a problem with that, or were you just like, I need all hands on deck here, it doesn't matter?
I did it first. When Joe and I were in Texas, he kept trying to convince me to do a GoFundMe page because we're in another state. We have limited cash reserves.
Right.
January, February, March have always been hard months for us. So we had a plan this year, and that plan had just fallen apart.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to ask for help, and you need to not be ashamed to ask for help. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. So then he must have called my friend, or Jay's friend, John, who lives in Fort Worth, because I got a text message saying there's a GoFundMe set up, deal with it.
Well,
Okay.
Joe's a smart young man, it sounds like,
Yes.
because that's, I mean, you have to do what you have to do. But it's a very vulnerable thing to say that.
And enough people finally told me, take the help when you need it. And then when you can pay it forward, then pay it forward. And so
Right.
that's really, I took that, and that's what I've really tried to do. So even if it's answering someone's questions about sublimation or brainstorming an idea with them,
Mm-hmm.
that helps me. I have really good friends here in town. Laura, she watches our dogs all the time. She took them without hesitation for, the whole time we were gone and anytime we had to be in the hospital. And she's got
Mm-hmm.
medical issues herself. So whenever we can try to help her, then we're there, and that helps it become okay to lean on one another. It becomes more.
So it's a community, basically.
Right.
Which I think is important. I mean, especially when you're going through a crisis situation, having a community of people you can count on is really huge. And I mean, I've seen just from, following you guys on Facebook, how many people have, fundraising and benefits and just, check in and make sure everybody's okay and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really, it's a testament to you guys that you've built that kind of community.
And I think Jay and I were both really surprised. I don't know why, but we were like, wow, there's a lot of people reaching out to us.
I don't think you ever really know the impact that you make until something happens. And then you're like, oh, wow. I said the same thing when I quit my job and started, and I was like, and the number of people that have emailed me or offered help or advice or a connection of something, I'm like, this is, I didn't realize that I had this much of a community, which is awesome to find out.
Right. Right.
And it's very humbling, and you feel very grateful too, I think. Definitely.
You can choose to either take the help and try to make it a better situation, or you can crawl in a hole and fail. And so I remember sitting at the hospital going, okay, I need to get my crap together.
Well, that's a really good point there, I think, is that a lot depends on how you look at it. You can look at it, you both could have gone, well, that's it, we're done, we're going to shutter the business, we're going to, go home and wait for things to, not to be blunt about it, but to kind of come to an end, and it's like, but that's not, there's no percentage in that. You might as well keep moving on. So
well, we have other people to think about too. We not only have our families, but our employees are our families, and their well-being is very important to us, and our customers.
So there were a lot of people that would have been impacted had you just said, well, that's it, we're going to go home and sit on the couch and cry or whatever.
Right.
So I do get that. But one of the things that you were talking about was having a community. And that brings me to something that I wanted to mention. And your business is the Visual Identity Vault. And that's their website there if you want to go take a look at it. And also they have a Facebook page, which is pretty robust. So you can go take a look at that too. But one of the things that I really liked, and I'm just popping up the banners here, but you did a kind of a promotion with a competitor, which I think is really cool, and I want to hear about that. And it's called MC Strong, Martin County Strong.
Martin County Strong, yeah.
Right. And I don't know why I missed the T in there the first time, but Martin County Strong. And you did this with a competitor that's like is she literally across the street?
Yep, kitty corner.
Okay. Because I was reading the newspaper article about this, which I want to talk about that in a little bit later, is how you all have managed all this press, because it's amazing. But tell me about how this came about. How did you decide to do this, and how did you talk your competitor into, or did you have to talk your competitor into doing it with you?
Didn't really have to talk her into it. Jay had contacted her and said, I have this idea. I've heard about, these people doing this. And he was talking about Sloan Coleman and her Here for Good campaign. And, how could we do it in a rural area? Because we weren't going to be able to make it work the way everyone else is making it work, with everyone having a different t-shirt, because then people would go broke buying all these different t-shirts.
So they'd have 49 t-shirts.
So he threw it out there and then got a little gun shy and put it away for a week or so. And then he called Sarah at DNS and was like, I think we need to look at doing this. And we have worked with her on a couple of other projects too. And we help each other out whenever we can. And she's like, yeah, let's get on board and do it. So we divvied up the responsibilities, and Jay built the web store. She did the order forms, picked out the garments and things like that. And then we're like, okay, let's do this. Let's figure out how this is gonna work. So we we gave businesses a week to contact us if they wanted to be on the back of the shirt, and as an option for where the money was going to go. And then from that, we had the store open for 2 weeks, the initial store. And last week we packaged everything up, and people are coming in here and getting their shirts. We shipped some are at DNS, that if they ordered from there, they could pick them up over there. Right. And then we're going to reopen the store, I think, in the next couple of days. And we're adding decals, yard signs, and some embroidered items.
Oh, wow.
And lasered cups. So,
Okay.
and the nice thing is that people can choose. There was a drop down in the web store of where you want the money from that particular item to go.
Okay, so like any business that became part of it,
Mhm.
people could go to the drop down and say, okay, I would like my contribution to go to. Well, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Now that's a unique idea. I haven't heard of that happening. And I know I saw in the newspaper article that you all said that you had enough businesses do it that you had to just go with listing the names of the businesses
Yes.
on the shirts because you
Yes.
couldn't put logos because there wasn't room,
Right, because there was
which is
201
pretty awesome.
businesses.
201?
Yes.
Wow. So how did you get the word out about it? Because that's a pretty success. So I think people would like to know how you did it.
Facebook page first, and then
Okay.
our businesses shared that. And then I think the Fairmont Sentinel contacted us about being
Right.
in it. And then we also sent out press releases.
Okay.
So we ended up doing the local photo press, which is the Shopper, Fairmont Sentinel, Sherman Tribune, a radio station. I think we did a Zoom call with a bunch of people one day because we were all quarantined. So
Sure. So
we
they couldn't show up. Yeah.
got together and did a Zoom call and talked about it. And some of the newspapers are good at calling us because they watch the Facebook things in
Sure.
rural Minnesota. And then we also are not afraid to say, hey, we're doing this.
Yeah. Hey, we're doing this and you need to. So do you have contacts then at the local papers that you can kind of just drop a little flea in their ear and say, hey, we might have this thing?
A little bit. I used to work at the Truman Tribune. I worked there for 3
Okay.
years as a graphic designer. Judy Bryan from the Sentinel, she just kind of follows all the downtown businesses. And
Mhm.
anytime that there's something that can benefit the community, that's always a really hot topic. And I think that if you let people know that you're willing to talk to the press and there's a
Yeah.
story there, then they're going to do that. I think a lot of people, they just don't get the word out because they think,
Right.
oh, I'm too small or whatever.
Nobody's going to care, or only special people get to be in the newspaper. Well,
Yeah.
I wrote about that a while ago because I think that's a vastly underused
Mhm.
publicity opportunity for a lot of businesses. So I'm glad to hear from you that that was something that really worked for you, because I'd like to see more businesses take advantage of that. It's not hard to do.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Yeah. So I really, okay. So you put this together, you got the word out about it, and people start subscribing. Did you have a moment where you went, "This is going way bigger than we thought it was," or were
Yeah, I
you just
remember.
like, "Yay"?
I remember I didn't really have any expectations. I knew that people would do it because
Right.
community tends to support community, and
Right.
we're all hurting. And I still feel really bad for the businesses that aren't reopened yet, the
Mm.
massage therapists, the hairstylists, and the
Mm.
restaurants and things like that. I just remember Jay watching the emails roll in. Wow, wow, wow! And the first night he's like, "Okay, it already surpassed what I thought it was going to be."
Mhm.
So yeah, it was exciting.
Well, I'm sure. So when you open the new one, and you said you're adding additional things, is that going to be like personalized stuff that people can get personalized for themselves, or is it going to have business names on it, or how is that going to work?
It's gonna just be Martin County Strong items.
Oh, okay. So people can just show their support in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Okay. I couldn't quite figure that out when you said that. I was like, I need to ask that question because I'm not sure how that's going to work. So basically, this is pretty much a testament to having a good idea, being able to work with your competitors in a friendly fashion,
Mhm.
and being willing to do the work to get the word out there
Right.
and utilize your contacts in the community, which I think I want to keep hitting on that point because, like I said, I think that's a very underutilized method of publicity for a lot of businesses that are working locally.
I would agree with that.
And, a lot of newspapers and television stations and radio stations, especially in smaller towns,
Mhm.
are looking for news and good stories and people in the community to talk about. So if you can be a resource for them, because I'm sure the next time they're looking for information on something, they're going to be, we got to call Jay and Tanya, find
Yep.
out what's happening. So I want to throw a couple more comments in here. Pilar's here. Hi, ladies. And she says, how's Jay?
He's doing well. He has his good and bad days, but there's been a little bit more good lately. So
did they ever figure out what the chest pains were?
No, it's just going to be something that he's going to deal with. And the cardiologist encouraged him that you need to go to the ER when you're having these, because that's the only way we're going to know if we're actually having an event or not, to actually get the official listing on the heart transplant list.
Oh, that's rough.
But coming from a healthcare background, he was a paramedic for over 20 years. That's hard to think that you're taking resources or whatever. But he was reassured that that's what needs to happen.
Well, and I mean, it's got to be tough when you go from being the person that was saving people and helping people to being the person that needs the help now.
Absolutely.
I mean, because my mother was a nurse, and medical personnel have a lot of, they're very selfless people, and they have a lot of, we want to take care and help others. They're not so good at doing the other half of it.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I have to say, after the cocktail party last Friday, Jay's probably one of my favorite people.
That's awesome.
It made me laugh.
I enjoyed seeing everyone's faces who caught on to what he was doing, because they were all laughing hysterically and other people were just clueless.
You're like, I don't think Martha ever caught on. Which, love you, Martha, but it was funny as heck.
It was awesome.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the two regular guys have been having a virtual cocktail party every couple of weeks on Zoom. And they had one last Friday, and Jay and Tanya came, and Jay was playing with his, like where it says Tanya Doyscher there on the bottom of Tanya's thing, he was changing that to say different captions. And most of them were quite funny. And he had an ongoing bit that he was going to run off with Martha and they were going to get married or something.
Calling her a cougar.
And yes, and it was very funny. So anyway, a few more little comments I want to throw in here. Shelby says, you are shining girl, love you, so proud of you. Those are the kind of friends to have right there. And Martha says, I was slow to get there. Oh, Erin is now telling me what happens at the cocktail party stays at the cocktail party. So I'm just giving away all the cocktail party secrets. And Nan says, poor Martha. I think Martha had as much fun as anybody did.
I think so too.
It was a good time. But another thing, there is no good segue for this, so I'm just going to go. Another thing I want to talk about, the Inspire, Collaborate, and Encourage initiative, I guess I'm going to call it, for lack of a better word. Not that you didn't already have a lot to do, but you came up with this concept. Tell everybody what this is.
Right now it's a Facebook group, and occasionally I'm going to do Zoom calls with different people. My first one I did had Julie Frederickson, who is a social media diva, that she's just awesome. Tyler Grosskreitz, who is he does websites and is very knowledgeable on all thing web. He's also a graphic designer. And then Chris Willert, who is an insurance agent. Because I thought it was important to give even the hobby crafters, you could be like a home-based business, a hobby crafter, whatever, some more knowledge and some avenues to ask questions. You know, do I need more insurance if I'm just doing this out of my house? What are good websites? What are some questions I have? And so the first one, unfortunately, I did it during the Two Regular Guys podcast, because I wasn't thinking about scheduling. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But it was really nice. And since then, I've been able, as I'm talking to people, to refer those people some business, to say, hey, go look at this page and go back and watch this video. And that might be someone that you want to do business with, or they might be able to help you, you know, and there wouldn't be any obligation type thing. And so in the future, I want to do one that's about selling. Becky Kotzer from the Women in Garment Decorating Group, who I've become really good friends with. We talk regularly, and she's like, I need some resources for how to put myself out there. She's like, you do a really good job and you've been doing all these lives. I'm like, yep, because I just decided one day that I was going to do it. But I get that that's not as easy for some people. So I want to get some people together on a call or a StreamYard event and do that. So it's just going to be different topics that can inspire. You can collaborate with others and you can encourage each other. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all business, but kind of like a feel-good thing that can possibly help others out.
So it's kind of like just basically getting some experts together and making them available to people who maybe otherwise wouldn't have access to them.
Absolutely. And then the nice thing, because they're recorded, is that they can share their own, and people can go back and they can be shared in other avenues. And as long as it helps everyone out, then that's kind of my main goal. And I know when I was trying to figure out a name for it, I told Jay, I said, I just want to do something. I just am not sure what. And so we were throwing all these things around. He goes, well, it should have like an acronym. So I'm like, oh, ICE. That works.
Oh, I never noticed that. I'm just looking at it now going, oh, inspire, collaborate, encourage. ICE. There you go. Yep. I never shows how much I get, I guess. But I love the concept behind it.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll just continue to grow it. I had really wanted to have had another, type gathering before now, but with the Martin County Strong, I've been busy screen printing with that. And we got another huge order after that, which is a side benefit to the Martin County Strong, is that, not only are we helping businesses, but it's helped our business as well. And hopefully it's helping DNS as well.
That makes sense. Okay, we got a few more comments here I want to show you. Aaron says, it's okay. All information is good sharing. The more, the merrier. He says that until, Eric and I go do a podcast, and then it's like, I don't know. And Facebook user, which we can't see your name yet, but if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can give them permission to show your name. Glad to hear that the group is connecting people on both personal and professional levels. That's good. And Aaron also says, I'm open to share anything I know about StreamYard.
Yay, I'll be taking you on that.
Well, I have to say, Aaron is the one that got me started with StreamYard too, because I was trying to use another platform and I wasn't loving it. And so he's like, well, this is what we do. And I went, okay. And then so that ended up being how this came to be. So I recommend it to everybody now, because I think it's a great way to do a podcast. Definitely. Okay. So let's talk about the core business, which is the Visual Identity Vault in
Fairmont.
And For the Team is in St. Peter. So you have 2 stores. And so when you're talking employees, you're talking.
You kind of froze. We have a couple of employees in Fairmont. I don't know if you can hear me, Christine, because you're frozen right now. Zach is a graphic designer here in Fairmont, and he also handles all of our laser cutting. And then Courtney Park does our embroidery and some of our accounting and some sales. We actually just hired a new sales manager who will be starting next month, and we'll have an intern. And then Tyler is our employee up in St. Peter, and he handles all the day-to-day operations up in that area.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry, guys. Everything suddenly went cattywampus for a minute. So that was fun. My internet dropped for some reason, which I have no idea. That has never happened to me before. So, hey, new experiences. Yay.
Oh, good.
Let's see. Pilar is asking, can you see our comments, Tanya?
I can. I didn't know where to type back, though.
Oh, and Carolyn says she was the one who said, glad to hear that the group is connecting people on personal and professional levels. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the internet there. Sorry about that. That was a very interesting little interval we had. So interesting. So I hope everybody can see us now, and let's, as though we weren't interrupted, we'll just smoothly go on.
There we go.
So we were talking about Visual Identity Vault and For the Team, and you said those have been in existence since 2017, correct? Or before that?
For the Team, we bought in 2017, and
Okay.
we changed our name from Imageware Memories when we moved out of the brick and mortar location and became the Visual Identity Vault.
Okay.
And the name is a little odd, but there is a vault in our basement. So we wanted to play off of that because this used to be a department store back in the day. And so the vault is kind of a cool thing.
Oh, very cool. I kind of wondered because that is an interesting name. So is like that in your logo or anything? Do you have the vault in your logo?
No, I tried to figure out a way to put it in. It just never worked.
Just
so
didn't work.
Went to the words.
Okay, so your business does screen printing, obviously. What are the rest of the services that you guys offer?
Promotional products, paper printed products, graphic design, sublimation, embroidery, signage, banners.
Wow. So pretty much everything.
Yeah. And if there's something that people are wondering about, they just need to ask, and we'll either tell them that we can do it, or we can kind of figure out who can do it for them.
All right. Okay. And all your business is primarily within the local community, or do you sell online, or?
We sell online. We actually have, I'm working on an Air Force order right now for the 13th ASOS out of Colorado.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be doing that this week. We've done some of the other ASOSs in Hawaii, and I feel like there was another one. And yeah, we can ship wherever. We've done some things. We do a lot in Mankato. A few years ago, we kind of pivoted from doing all sports because the bigger companies were coming in and signing contracts with the local schools, which kind of hurt us, to more business to business. And that's where we became involved in BNI. Jay's been a member of BNI for 3 or 4 years. Courtney was involved in BNI, and then a new group formed, and Jay's like, I think you should do it. And I'm like, I don't know. I've always been really happy just being behind the scenes. But it's probably the best thing I ever did, because it has gotten me out there and not afraid to talk to people and more networking.
Well, I think one of the things that your situation also points out that maybe is something worth discussing here is the idea of when you're in a partnership with someone, whether it's as business partners or marital partners, or, you know, your significant other works with you or whatever it is, there's a tendency to kind of divvy up things. And like you found out, that's maybe not always the best option.
Right. I don't think anyone should have exclusive knowledge.
Yeah. Well, and you don't really think about it because you know we all kind of have to operate on the assumption that nothing's ever going to happen.
Correct.
But things do. So
it became so apparent to me that I knew so little about how our business ran, especially when it came to pricing. I have a very creative brain. Numbers are hard for me.
Yeah.
And when I'm dealing with numbers, I have to double check, triple check, because I see them backwards. And it's only getting worse with age. So I'm really careful. And then when Jay's been doing Zoom trainings with Angie, who we're hiring to do sales, I've done the training with her so that I at least have a go-to of where can I find that information. I don't want to be left in the dark again, because that was not a good feeling.
Well, no, I mean, and added to the stress of, you know, the man you love is ill, and it's, you know, it's a pretty serious situation. And then you also have the added stress of trying to keep a business running when you don't have all the info.
Right.
So that's got to be, I can't even imagine how, you know, you're not like sitting in a corner somewhere going, I'm good. It's okay.
And I didn't even drink that much during the
Well, there you go. You didn't even drink that much. So, but I think that's a really good point that I want to make sure that we make, is that, you know, if you are in business with someone, regardless of whether it's just business partners, or make sure that there's something somewhere that you can both access in case one of you isn't available for some reason, because, you know, that's a real risky proposition to be in a situation where the other person isn't available and you're trying to figure things out and you don't have all the information to do that.
Right. And even equipment. Jay doesn't run any equipment and he doesn't do any of the art because he can draw stick figures.
Yeah, I'm a J as far as that goes.
But we tend to divvy up the equipment too. Zach does the laser. I wouldn't be able to turn on the laser and do anything with it, or with the embroidery, and no one else can really do the screen printing portion of it. So we're going to be working on cross training so that we can at least turn machines on and be able to poke around and figure it out.
Well, and I think that's important too. If you have, because I think it's kind of natural to, if, like you said, your numbers are not your favorite thing. So if you have somebody that likes numbers, you're going to let them do the numbers.
Yep.
And, if somebody knows how to work the laser and they're good at it, you're just going to let them do it because they can do it faster and more efficiently than you can.
Right.
But I think you're really right. That's an important thing. As Carolyn says, there should be a folder that says if it all goes to shit.
Well, before Jay's one of his stent procedures, we had to have this really serious talk because
I'm sure.
it was not guaranteed that it was going to work or that he was even going to survive. And that's a hard talk to have.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I imagine that's not a fun day.
So here's where all the passwords are. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. He goes, I know. He goes, this is where we had to have just a really blunt talk, and it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, but it was necessary. So at least that if anything did happen, I would at least know where to access things.
Well, one of the things I have to say that has really been a lesson for me lately is I just lost an aunt that I was very close to. She died of cancer, but she was talking to me. We talked on FaceTime a lot because I couldn't go see her because of the virus, but she was very matter of fact about it all. She's like, yeah, we went and, we've been planning the funeral and I was like, how are you just like, and she's like, cause it's a fact of life. Things happen and I'd rather make it easy to do and, make it, be prepared for it rather than pretend that maybe it's not going to happen. And I imagine that's a horrifically hard conversation, but wow.
It was not only necessary because the doctors told us so, but when my parents both got sick, I ended up taking care of everything because nothing was planned. I think that they thought they were going to live forever, and it was a big mess.
Right.
Whereas after that, my grandma called me and said, you need to come down. We're going to get my funeral paid for. We're going to get my will all done and blah, 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 blah. So that was very much appreciated. But when your husband's 45 years old, you never expect that you need to have had those conversations already.
No.
And it is very humbling.
Oh, I'm sure.
But also makes you appreciate, the time you do have.
Oh, definitely. And I think people tend not to do it because, I know my doctor said that to me. Have you had, because I have heart issues and I'm not to the level that Jay is yet, but, and I always go, oh yeah, I'll do that. And I'm like, if something happened to me, nobody would have a clue what's going on. So, and when you're involving a business in it, that's even more important because like you said, it's not just you guys, it's your employees and also, if you're dealing with a situation where the worst does happen, you're dealing with the grief of that and then trying to keep, I can't even imagine.
Right. How am I going to make payroll when I can't even function?
Yeah. So it's smart to figure this all out ahead of time, even though it's not a fun conversation by any means, I'm sure. So I think that's one of the things I did want to get out there because I think that's really important, that handle this stuff ahead of time so you're not, you're not hit by the bus.
Right.
Oh geez. So we've got some the stick figure comment was apparently popular. If we could only figure out a way to sell stick figure merch, I would be awesome. Yeah, if we could do stick figure merch, I could make a ton. And
Hey,
Valerie says, design programs were invented for me, LOL. Otherwise, all my customers would get stick figures.
I like Carolyn's avatar. It's a stick figure.
Yes, well, Carolyn says that's her, and I said, yeah, that'd be mine too, because that's pretty much. And Jane says yes, and I've heard this before. The bus book. If I get run over by a bus, here's where all the important info is kept.
Mhm.
And I usually, when I was working for someone else, I usually had one of those that I made
Right.
of all the stuff that I knew, because I had a tendency to end up running stuff, and people were like, "You're good, go ahead and do it," and I'm like, "But you don't know it." You don't know anything. And it amazes me how many people are fine with that, are kind of like, okay.
Well, and you never know, because I've had to do so much thinking over the last few months.
Oh,
It
I'm
doesn't
sure.
matter if it's a heart attack or you get hit by a car or
Mhm.
a gunman decides to show up and be wherever you're
Sure.
at, because that has happened to people in America.
Yeah.
You don't want to think about that either, but
Mhm.
tomorrow is not promised for any of us.
Which really is a good reminder to be prepared and also to seize the day, because you don't know, all that stuff that you're waiting to do or that you think you want to do, you need to make sure that you do it now, because you don't know.
Right.
And I think we tend to live like none of that's a reality. And it's like, wow, you really gotta do that.
Well,
So
even when you're having a bad day, I had a really bad day yesterday.
yeah, I saw that.
Everything I touched was just one thing after another. And I was getting really kind of stressed out and upset about it. And Jay's like, you need to walk away, take a
Mhm.
break, because I think that you're going to have a heart attack if you don't calm down. And it's not
Oh.
worth it. And then in hindsight, I was like, yeah, it walk away, come back with clear eyes and be good, because it isn't worth getting so upset about things.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that you can take to heart. That one of the things I have to say that a major event, health event or otherwise, does do is it really clarifies
Mm-hmm.
what's really important and what isn't. I know when I went through mine, and this was several years ago now, a lot of stuff that I thought, I was like, oh, that doesn't, that's nothing. Why was I even, why was I worrying about that? But you get so caught up in the minutia of things that sometimes it takes something big to go, okay, this is, all this stuff that I was thinking was so hugely important or annoying or whatever it was, it's not even a thing. So I think that's a good point to make, and I'm glad we got to talk about that. But I also want to talk about some other things that you're doing. And like I said, some of this stuff, no good segue, just kind of like, well, we're done with that now. Let's go on to this.
Sounds good.
Gracie B. Doodle Designs. Now that's relatively new.
It is. It's something that I actually had over a year ago wanted to do. And because I like making digital papers and different designs, and if I can help other people out, because not everybody has design knowledge or experience.
Hello. Not at all.
And so I had the brainchild, and I just wasn't sure if I wanted to do an Etsy store or not. I mean, they do well for some people, but I just was hesitant because I'm like, they have all the control, they can change their algorithms and stuff. And then when I was doing the Equid store in the hospital with Jay, I'm like, this might be something. And I drug my feet on a little bit more. But one thing that became evident to me in the hospital when I didn't know what was going to happen is that it would sure be nice to have some sort of extra income stream
Right.
that would just be either extra money or money for bills or,
Sure.
whatever. And so that's where I finally decided, okay, Gracie B. Doodle is going to be born. And I made it have a fun name. It's named after my 3 dogs. Gracie is Gracie Lou for Age of Grace. B is Brewer, and Doodle is our Labradoodle Trinity.
Well, there you go.
So
So people can get designs there, or they can get
designs, and they will be able to get some sublimation blanks that we
okay.
cut. Not that I want to compete with other people, but because I think there's a lot of talented people that have lasers, and some of them are really good friends of mine. Some of them have helped me out. But I do some that are, kind of specific to me. And if
Right.
people are following me want to get them from me, then hey, that's an okay thing. So I'm slowly adding some of that stuff on, and we'll eventually have like business cards and things too, because I think smaller businesses, they just tend to go to Vistaprint, and you're dealing with an 800 number, where ours are,
so keep it local.
Yeah, relatively inexpensive, and you get to deal with a designer.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's basically a way to get your artistic side out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have some either fun money or, put money away for the roof I inherited my grandma's house in Iowa, and we were keeping it. And so repairs and upkeep for that, because eventually we'll move down there years from now, but still have upkeep on it.
So do you travel back and forth between the two stores, or how does that work? Or are they, I don't know Minnesota well enough to know what the logistics are of how close they are, or is there like a shop manager at each place, or?
Yeah, Tyler is up in St. Peter all the time. That's his main place. And so we basically make deliveries there. We do a lot of the production here and then take it up there. I tried having office hours up there, but it just didn't make sense when everything that I do is down here. Jay would have some hours up there sometimes, but we found that it's busy enough for one person. And then if we go up there, it's basically if we're going to have meetings or things of that nature.
So that's just more like a storefront. It's not necessarily as much production facility.
Yep. We had the automatic screen print press that came from up there, and the embroidery equipment. And I was going up there 2 days a week to screen print. I told Jay, I said, I'm on the road all the time.
Yeah.
I said, I would really like to have it close to here. That way, if I want to go in at 2 a.m, if I can't sleep or whatever, then it's easier for me to do. So we now have kind of consolidated all the production down in this area, because in our storefront here is huge. We have a very big building, so.
Okay, that makes sense. So here's a question for you, because I'm kind of interested in this. How did you learn to screen print? Did you teach yourself? Did you know how before?
I did a little bit in college. And then when we bought our business initially, it was heat transfers, and I felt very limited at that point in time because I'd had to pay all these art charges for custom stuff. I'm like, I don't want
I don't want to pay art charges.
So Jay looked around for a small footprint manual press for my garage shop and found one through Printa Systems. And so we flew to Washington State and took the class, learned how to do that. Came home, it was delivered. Jay tried helping me screen print my first job, and I told him to get out of the garage. So that's when the divide happened. I will do the production, you do the business, or else we're going to get divorced.
Oh, dear. Well, I mean, I think that's how it happens for a lot of people. Usually it's the other way around, though, with screen printing. But I think I was just curious because I know, like I said, normally if you find like husband and wife that own a screen printing shop, it's usually the man who's screen printing and the woman who's doing other things, the art or whatever. But so do you like doing it? I mean, is it?
I do. I like the process. I don't. I need an employee to do the screen printing now because it's really hard on my body.
Well, yeah, I mean, pushing the squeegee and all that stuff, that's, and if you have a manual press too.
And the repetitive movement, even when you're doing the automatic, you're reaching and things like that. I would much rather put my focus to inspire, collaborate, and encourage, and Gracie Be Beautiful, and the social media aspects of our business, because I'm finding that's where I'm really enjoying myself a lot more. And if I had someone else to do the screen printing, I think that it would be a better mix. And we're working on that. Because it takes up a lot of my time. It's a necessary part of our business. And I love having the automatic screen print press now too. And we still have our original manual Printa press that I won't get rid of. They thought that the auto would replace it. And I'm like, no.
No, we'll just find more business and put them on both, put both out.
Yeah, I still use it quite frequently for smaller jobs and for shorts and sleeves and things like that. But it is one thing that as I get a little bit older, I'm like, yeah, I think someone else younger needs to come in and take that part over.
So that's another question that I see a lot. So let's talk about this for a minute. How do you know when you need to, how did you make the decision that you needed to hire someone? Because it sounds like in the beginning, it was kind of just you and Jay.
Was
So
just
how did you make the decision?
When we moved to our stores, we actually had business partners, and that didn't end up very, very good.
I hear that story. Yeah.
Yeah. So once we were able to separate from the business partners and wish them well, I think we had an employee at that point in time because we were just really busy. But I actually took a job at the newspaper in Truman because I wanted to make sure that we had food on our table. Because at that point, we're like, okay, we're separating from them. We need to make sure we make all of our bills and things like that. And so for 3 years, I did that and just decided last November that it was time for me to focus on our business.
Okay.
And just as we added services, it became really apparent that we needed another graphic designer. And we were lucky enough that Zach came back after college. He had come in when he didn't have any experience and wanted a job, and we're like, come back after you have had classes.
Come back after you figured some stuff out.
And he did, and it's been wonderful. We wouldn't trade him for the world. And as we got into BNI and became busier, we've known that we've needed some salespeople to keep that going and to feed us into, to keep us busy. And so we're trying to get all that figured out again because, you lose people and you're like, doggone it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've heard that I just get somebody trained and then they decide that they need to go do something else or whatever. And it's like, but I think that's one of the things that I see a lot. And so it's always a question I like to ask is, did you base it on amount of money you made or amount of time or possibility of future sales? What was your criteria for deciding it's time for a person?
Kind of all of that.
Kind of all of that? Okay.
I was working just ungodly hours and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, and that's not sustainable.
Yeah, I'm not living. I feel like crud all the time. It's time to, get someone else in here that maybe has some fresh eyes too, because, everyone has a different style as well. Oh,
yeah, definitely.
And so it's not just all about me. As much as sometimes I think it is.
Well, I think, especially with artists, you can find that one person's aesthetic will really kind of inform how things work. So that's interesting. Now, are you the only artist there or did you hire somebody else?
No, Zach is also a graphic designer.
Oh, okay.
And so is Tyler up in St. Peter.
Okay. So you've got a stable of people. All of you who don't need to use stick figures. This is good.
Exactly. And then we actually had someone else from Zach and I's program from Iowa Lakes just contacted us. He had come in and placed an order last Christmas. And contacted Jay, and he's going to intern for us this summer. So we're pretty excited about that because he's wanting to learn, everything, from, screen printing. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I'll teach you. No problem.
To the laser and, probably some basics of embroidery too. And then the hope is, because there's not a lot of graphic design jobs in rural Minnesota.
Well, yeah.
If he likes it and we like him and are happy that it could be a good partnership like it was with Zach.
That's another question too, because I know this is something when I was at Enmart, we dealt with this. Do you work with interns a lot? Is that something that you guys do? Because I've heard we had kind of varied experience with it when we did it. Some of them are really good and some of them not so much.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious if you've had any experience with that.
We have a couple of times. The first time didn't work out so well because when I would walk out into the shop, she'd be playing solitaire.
Yeah, that's not generally a good sign.
And it's like, no. Zach didn't intern for us, but we were happy once he came back and showed the initiative that, we had told him to come back.
Right.
And then the gentleman that came to us a week or so ago is showing initiative as well. So not all
Right.
internships are paid, but we're choosing to pay for this internship just because he seems like, he really wants to learn. And I think that if you pay them a little bit, then it gives them even more incentive to take it seriously.
Well, yeah, and I think you hit on a really good point right there, which is if they're showing initiative, because, a lot of some of the kids that we had come in, it was clearly like the college said, you have to have an internship, and they're like, okay. And, there was no, they came in and they did what they were supposed to do, and they got their college credit or whatever, but there was no like, why are you doing this? Or can I learn this thing? Or, it was just like, I have to come in and put in my time, and here I am.
Yeah.
We did
a Zoom call with him. Jay was actually doing the Zoom call and I was listening. And I pointed out, because one of my big pet peeves is I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
So have a notepad.
Yeah.
And if you have a legitimate question, I will help you. But if you ask me multiple times something that I've already told you, I'm going to be a little irritated with you.
I have that one too, where it's like, how to do this. I told you. Yeah.
And he has ideas and things like that. And that's really good to see. That's what kind of piques my interest, is if someone is like, well, how about this? Or I'd like to learn how to do this better, so it's not so many steps, because you can do the same thing in graphic design a million different ways. It's just a matter of streamlining your process.
Yeah, well, I think that's all good points, and I hate to say this, but we're getting close to the end of this.
Oh, wow.
I know, I told you it was going to go fast.
It
I wanted to just make sure that I'd hit everything that I wanted to cover, and I think we did cover all the things. And I'm just going to run up here. If you want to check out the Visual Identity Vault, there is their store and their Facebook page. And if you want some more information on Martin County Strong, there's their Facebook page, which actually when I went and looked at that Facebook page, you guys have a lot of followers there.
Yeah.
That Facebook page isn't that old. So kudos to you on your social media, I don't know what even strength, knowledge, I don't know, whatever the word is that I want. And then also Gracie B. Doodle, there's the website for that if you want to go check out Tanya's designs. And I guess if you had, this is the question I always love, so I'm going to ask you, if you had to sum up what you wanted people to take away from this talk, what would you tell them?
Try to look at what other people might be going through and give them the benefit of the doubt, because you truly don't know what's going on in their life. And if you're having a bad day, try to turn it around. Choose happy. and be kind.
Be kind, choose happy. Oh, this is funny. Carolyn again. I refused to let my brother know that I knew how to screen print. It was the only job I did not do, and was not going to do that too.
Nice.
That makes me laugh. Well, I will say I think we've had a great conversation. It went really fast, but hopefully we put a lot of good info out there for people. I appreciate so much you being here. It's been, I mean, like I said, for me, what you've been able to do with everything that's been happening, and we didn't even get into the fact that after this all happened with Jay, then the entire world went upside down.
Exactly.
And you had to deal with the virus on top of everything else. So it's like it's like, here's the only thing I can think of is here's a shit sandwich, and let's put, an extra helping of crap on top of it.
The other thing I would say is find people to lean on. Like, I found the Women in Garment Decoration group and some other groups, and reaching out to people that I have never even met face to face was amazing for me. So not only did I have my friends, but I had this place that I could go that Jay couldn't see.
Which, don't discount the value of that, having a place where you can vent, where, because obviously, I mean, you love your husband,
right. But he
want
didn't
to
need
support
that
him.
stress.
Yeah, so it's helpful to have some place where you can go that is a safe environment where you can talk about what you want to talk about. And I have to say, I haven't seen you vent all that much there. You've been very much a positive force in
thank you.
the Women in Garment Decoration group, and I appreciate that hugely. As Shelby says, you are an inspiration.
Aw.
So, but I thank you very much. I'm not going to take us into, I'm going to take us into a teeny bit of bonus time. But I'm going to let you go, and I'll say goodbye to everybody, and I'll tell them what's happening next week. Thank you, Tanya. This has been really amazing. I'm so glad you decided to do this.
Thank you, Christine.
All right. All right. Well, that was amazing. I'm so glad that we were able to have that chat with Tanya. I just wanted to tell you all before we go, if you want any information on the Women and Business podcast, you can find it on the Women in Business podcast Facebook page. And if you are interested in joining the Women in Garment Decoration group, you are more than welcome to do that. We'd love to have you. And I hope you will join me next Wednesday, which would be May 27th at 3 p.m. We'll be talking to Jillian Allen from the Cat's Pajamas. And I'm very excited about that. I think we'll get some great information from her. Thank you to Tanya. Check out the Visual Identity Vault. Check out Gracie B. Doodle. Go see what she's doing, because she's a really amazing lady. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.